Okay, I kind of went down the rabbit hole on this one, folks, but I think it's going to be worth it. As you know, I'm a big fan of the Dune series, and Frank Herbert had a lot to say about the consequences of combining the state with religion. And I kept thinking of it when I was working on this piece. So, one of the things he said about that are when law and duty are one, united by religion, you never become conscious, fully aware of yourself. You are always a little less than an individual. A description of the Israeli state I don't think a better one has ever been written.
What do you mean by
So,
individual?
so case in point, so Jerusalem Day, that's not even a celebration of the founding of modern Israel or even the founding of ancient Israel. That is a celebration of the 6-Day War in 1967 when they invaded and occupied East Jerusalem and the West Bank, and continued their illegal occupation to this day. So here's just a little bit about that, and some Israelis talking about the deep feeling they get inside from celebrating this second Nakba.
Every day that I live in Israel, I'm proud of it. I don't regret any day. Here in Jerusalem Day, this is the day, this is the day. I was up on our bed, I talked to God, I prayed to Him. This is the important day, it's Jerusalem Day. This is our day of the Jews. If you look around, everyone here is in blue and white. This is our day of Jerusalem.
There is no place like Eretz Israel, and there's no Am like Am Yisrael. There's nothing like this. I have the chills just standing here. You can feel the energy.
Feel that energy. Okay, so remember, this is at a moment when there is a genocide going on within spitting distance of where these celebrations are happening, where people are starving to death. This happened days after reports of a school being bombed and children being burned to death. And these people could not be happier. Oh my God, I feel chills. It's such a special place. That's what Herbert was writing about. That's what he's describing. When you have this combination between law, duty, and religion, it creates this deranged fanaticism. And you'd be hard pressed to find any state on earth where that volatile mix is any more evident than in Israel. So this is Bet Salam describing what this actually is. Jerusalem Day is an Israeli national holiday marked on the day East Jerusalem was occupied to celebrate the unification of the city in 1967. In 1968, a festive march to the Western Wall was added to the tradition. Participants marched through the Muslim quarter of the Old City, waving Israeli flags, while often provoking and even attacking Palestinian residents. The Flag March is an example of Jewish supremacy. Thousands of Jewish Israelis celebrate defiantly, while Palestinians are forced to shut their shops and stay home in fear. Richard Medhurst posted a little footage of what goes on there. This is from 2022. Today is Jerusalem Day for the Israelis, where they celebrate the illegal occupation and subsequent annexation of Jerusalem, which also includes pepper spraying and kicking an old Palestinian woman. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go back because it's right at the beginning where they pepper spray her. Yep. See that? Such a nice celebration. So nice. So nice the way they celebrate their country. You thought the 4th of July was rough. So this is what they want you to think Jerusalem Day is. This is put out by Stand With Us.
We should probably read these texts. Oh, okay. So why don't we
A dream
read it?
kept alive for generations. Jerusalem Day honors the Jewish people's deep bond with their eternal capital, a city sacred to Jews, Christians, and Muslims alike. Today, Jerusalem is a vibrant mosaic of cultures, faiths, and traditions. On Jerusalem Day, we honor its past and hope for a future of peace. Happy Jerusalem Day. Oh, it's so peaceful, and they welcome everybody of all faiths. It's such a warm, heartwarming day where everyone is welcome, and they look forward to a multicultural future that embraces people of all beliefs. Well, this is Haaretz, which is actually an Israeli newspaper. The flag march in Jerusalem reaches a new low, mocking the dead children of Gaza. The annual pogrom in Jerusalem's Old City included assaults on Palestinians, property destruction, and racist chants. Even when police intervened for a change, the incitement was met with silence. They did a little, usually they don't bother. They did a little token intervention, I guess, because the eyes of the world are on their genocide right now. In recent years, this already racist and violent event has effectively become a state-sanctioned invitation for extremist groups. These include the so-called Hilltop Youth, radical settlers from illegal outposts, the far-right soccer fan club La Familia, and marginalized youth. They tend to arrive hours before the official march to carry out a pogrom of their own in the Old City. This year was no different. These groups attacked Palestinian shops and passerby, as well as journalists and anyone they identified as leftists. You should show this to all of your liberal identifying Zionist friends and relatives. These people are not left. They are fanatically fascist, right-wing Nazi groups. Activists from organizations like Standing Together, Looking the Occupation in the Eye, and Ir Amim, who came to try to protect Palestinians and their property, became easy targets. Many were spat on, cursed, or physically assaulted. In most cases, police chose to remove the activists rather than the rioters. So this is a little footage of this, and it's worth reading this description. This is Omar Suleiman, who's been reporting on events there for a while. The day after Israel burned a bunch of children alive and normal human beings watched in horror, quote, "May your village burn and Muhammad is dead," is what thousands of extremist Jewish settlers marching on Al-Aqsa illegally in Jerusalem chanted. Yesterday, some also held a barbecue shamelessly at the border of Gaza to mock the starving Palestinians. Oh, and Netanyahu filmed himself in a tunnel under the holy site of Islam while the U.S. Secretary of State went to celebrate with them. And you call us religious extremists. So let's take a look at that. So among their chants has been all the schools are gone in Gaza, all the children are dead. Nice. Our allies, folks. So Glenn Greenwald tweeted, might one consider this a genocidal chant? As they were chanting death to Arabs. You notice you don't hear about that. You actually don't hear about that. You don't see people being expelled from the country on their student visas for that,
Right.
for taking part in these kinds of things. Are
No, we
they
had
going to
our
make
own
sure
Israeli Day
none of
parade
these
in New
people
York.
come to America?
Yeah.
They're going to make sure they don't come to America?
Yep.
The repertoire of racist songs shifted slightly this year. The dominant chants remained the familiar ones. These are the familiar ones. These are the familiar ones. May your village burn. Muhammad is dead. And avenge but one of my two eyes of Palestine, damn them. A phrase that literally means may their name and memory be erased, with the final word shouted while flagpoles slammed against metal doors. But new songs were added to the mix, including There's No School in Gaza, There's No Children Left, Let the IDF Fuck the Arabs, and Flatten Gaza.
No, so it's like when they bring a Disney musical to Broadway, they write a few new songs, not just what's in the movie, you know?
Hello, happy Sunday. We've got a new one burning
we
up
got a
the
new-
charts.
Yeah.
Let the IDF fuck the Arabs is
Yeah,
going
right,
to the top
exactly.
like a bullet.
Yeah.
Contrary to claims from religious nationalist leaders, this hate is not the work of a small fringe. This is particularly important at a moment when you got Bono running around trying to pin this on Netanyahu and others following along.
Yeah, and this is Haaretz. This is the Israeli paper of record.
Yes, yes. This hate is not the work of a small fringe. The true minority is composed of those who stick to songs of faith and Jerusalem. Once again this year, I struggled to find any group that refrained from racist chants. Im Tertsu, an organization affiliated with the Likud party, rather than the far-right Otzma Yehudit, proudly displayed a giant banner at the entrance to the old city reading, "No Nakba, no victory." And of course, the Nakba is the Arab word for the day the Israelis came and drove about 750,000 Palestinians from their home in 1948. It translates as catastrophe. These words also appeared on marchers' T-shirts. It's worth noting that all of this was funded by the Jerusalem municipality, which allocated 700,000 shekels without a public tender to the organization behind the march. Okay, so this is not Netanyahu. It's not fringe to Israeli society. It's not foreign to Israeli society. You have the Likud aligned group celebrating the Nakba and calling for more Nakba. So it's from the Quds News Network, just showing some of the horrible abuses. If you see the people in the purple vests, those are Israeli volunteers who go out to protect the Arabs from the rioters. All right, so this is a post from one of those organizations. Standing Together's activists deployed in the old city of Jerusalem to come between local Palestinian residents and far-right settlers who commemorate Jerusalem Day by going on a racist rampage. We're here to document the violence, de-escalate, and help protect people. It's a picture of the group, and let's see some of what they did.
You talk about a thankless job and a dangerous job.
Yep. That is what you call using your privilege. Because if they were not Israeli, if they were Palestinian, they would just go right through them.
Yes.
So
I'm surprised they didn't anyway, to be honest.
Seriously. The difference between the Israeli right before and after October 7th is that before, Nakba was denied, whereas today it is flaunted and become the main slogan for action. Pictured here on Jerusalem Day, quote, "Without Nakba, there is no victory." Now, this is really amazing because we've been seeing people go into hysterics about the phrase "from the river to the sea," something that is actually contained in the Likud party's charter, right? That it's a genocidal phrase. So what is that? Without Nakba, there is no victory. Kristi Noem was over there. She should have launched an investigation. Got dangerous genocidal terrorists in Israel. Who knew?
Not just from the river to the sea. Now, since the shooting at the embassy, Dana Bash did a whole thing about how Free Palestine itself should be considered, a genocidal phrase. So, yeah, but this isn't. The Nakba literally means to displace people and drive them out of their land.
Right. It's literally calling for ethnic cleansing at best.
Right.
At best. So how did the IDF celebrate Jerusalem Day? Well, predictably, by partying in the house of Palestinians that they murdered and displaced, and by having a barbecue. There's the house of a probably dead Palestinian family. Your tax money, folks. Your tax money. That's what we're paying for. Now this was not actually on Jerusalem Day, but Israeli soldiers filmed themselves having a barbecue in Rafah where the people and their children are starving to death. They thought this was funny. Film this. Look at this. So just to put a button on this, the aftermath of Jerusalem Day. Does it look like these fuckers love Jerusalem? They just hate Arabs. They don't love anything. Here. So that's what goes on there at Jerusalem Day. Do you see Israeli society as a whole horrified that there are these well-known, this has been going on for decades, that there are these well-known pogroms against the Arab population of East Jerusalem? They know about it. They're armed to the teeth in this country. They could stop it if they wanted to. They could send enough force to make sure this doesn't happen. We're told that this is a democracy. It's pluralistic. We have Arabs in Israel. Well, sure. Sure, you have Arabs in Israel who get brutalized at will by psychopaths, and the state does nothing about it. The state pays for this entire celebration. You saw there are the supposedly liberal groups calling for Nakba, celebrating Nakba. This is a society of very, very sick, damaged people. As we'll see in the next segment, they are brainwashed into a belief in holy war, which is rather ironic because it's what Muslims are usually accused of by the West, that they have a fixation on jihad, on holy war. No, if you listen to Zionists, they believe, mostly genetically falsely, that they are the descendants of the biblical Jews. And as we saw in a poll recently that Max shared, they think that they're leveling Jericho. They think they're the biblical Jews doing the will of God, strangely, even when they're secular. Even when they're secular. That's what Ilan Pape said. Most Jews are secular, but they all believe God gave them Palestine, right? They're all fixated. But I've confronted secular Jews about this, and they will fall back on the Bible.
Right.
That is the madness of this society. That's what allows such barbarity, such cruelty in people who are so convinced of their righteousness. And then you have, of course, the Holocaust, which sets the stage for just casting everything they do as the act of victims defending themselves. Because what are the Arabs? They're Nazis. They're Nazis. They're just brainwashed to project onto them the crimes of the Nazis, which they had absolutely nothing to do with, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, the state offers no protection or peacekeeping at these events. It falls to the volunteers in the purple vests, who represent, according to Max's polling, about the 9% of Israeli men, probably a little more of Israeli women, maybe the 10 to 15% of Israelis who are against what's going on wholesale, right? Who are against the genocide of the Arab people. They have to put on a purple vest and go out there and hope that they can keep the peace. That is a very, very noble but dangerous job. But it falls to them to do it because, yeah, the state obviously endorses this, and the Likud party is a right-wing party. They are not the extreme right-wing of Israeli politics. We said this over and over again. They're a center-right party by Israeli standards. And yeah, I mean, the kind of
basically Netanyahu is like John Smith in The Man in the High Castle.
Yeah,
he's
right.
the good Nazi.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, to the racism that is on display here is the kind that you would see, you know, in the Jim Crow South, or in the in the antebellum South, to just ignore the most obvious contradictions. Right. You consider yourself a good, peace-loving person, yet you're just ignoring the most obvious contradiction possible that's right in front of your face, both in terms of racial politics, obviously, disputes over land, but also what's especially kind of haunting about this is you get into the realm of religion. As you mentioned, the Ilan Pape quote, Bill Maher, one of the most prominent and proud atheists, goes on and says, I'm not a religious person, but in this case, the archaeology checks out, meaning the archaeology of the Bible checks out. Okay, so then based on that, what? Anything is justified? Really?
Right.
But that's what they think. That's what they think. Hey, thanks for watching our video. We're currently raising money to produce our documentary film on the Uhuru movement. Go to givesendgo.com/do dissidents to chip in.
Every dollar you give goes towards the project. We do not take any kind of salary on these. We mostly live on Gatorade when we're on the road, so even solid food is iffy. Just enough to get by. But we do not take any pay for this. Every dollar actually goes into what we need to shoot the project. The Uhuru movement is a subject that really deserves more exposure. Everybody heard about it through the court case, and that was an important thing to elevate. But they've done incredible community work demonstrating a different way that is socialist and not dependent on the government at the same time, which a lot of people don't even realize that still exists in the tradition of the Black Panther food and education programs. And to show there is such a strong community like that with such strong leadership is really important, particularly at this historical moment.
Yeah, so we're really excited about doing the project, but we need your help. So go to givesendgo.com/do dissidents to chip in. Thanks very much for your support.
Please clap.